Here he is, a big unit.
Big Joey Dawes.
I'll unmute you. There we go. Can you hear us, Joe?
I can, mate. Yeah, all
Beautiful.
good.
We've got you. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. A few technical issues and away we go.
No,
Laughing. How are you, Joey?
Good, you? What's been going on?
Just been chipping away at this. It's been a massive week. As I said, we've got about 1,700 players registered in this this free 4-week program we're running. So a couple of sessions a day and the odd little physical challenge and skills challenge and things like that through the day just to keep them active through lockdown.
Oh, nice. Excellent work.
So, guys, our guest tonight, bit of background. Joel and I used to work with Joey Dawes back at Queensland Cricket about 6 or 7 years ago. I was lucky enough to get some coaching from Joe as well when I was younger, about 18, 19, 20 years old. So Joe used to play professional cricket for the Queensland Bulls. He's a big fast bowler, well known for trying to intimidate batsmen. After his playing career, he's moved on natural progression into coaching with a focus on fast bowling. And he's pretty much done, everything in the book. Bar Coach Australia. He's been involved in the IPL, the Big Bash. He's with the Strikers at the moment as an assistant. Coached the Aussie women's team. Fast bowling coach for India. And he's currently the high performance and head coach of Papua New Guinea. So, once again, Joe, thanks a lot for coming on, mate. I'm sure the kids and the parents on here are going to get a lot out of it. Do you just want to kick us off, mate, and just give us a bit of a rundown on how you started cricket as a junior and your timeline to where you're at now?
Yeah, long time ago now. I'm getting old. It's mate, I fell in love with the game as a 7-year-old and a little town called Bollen, which is in Western Queensland between St George and Cunnamulla. It's a one-pub town. You blink and you drive through it. You miss it. But we owned the pub out there and went out there, and the school got me into cricket and been madly in love with it ever since. So, we used to roll kegs out into the middle of the backyard and use them as our stumps and play there, and been keen with it ever since. So we moved back into Brisbane, got into school cricket, started playing club cricket after I left school, and then I was 26 when I first played my first game for Queensland, probably a late starter, and something that probably hasn't happened a lot over the last 10 years with the way the game is heading. Hopefully it's heading back the other way. And, had a wonderful 9 years with Queensland. We won 4 Sheffield Shields during that time. And, it was a pretty successful period and a great period of time to play. And then I was lucky enough that when I finished playing, Terry Oliver and Graham Dixon offered me an opportunity to stay on and work at Queensland Cricket, and got into my coaching there. And I was doing the welfare stuff as well. And then moved to South Australia, had a full-time coaching gig there. Was there for 7 months. Was rung by Duncan Fletcher and offered the role as assistant coach there with India, which was amazing. My first trip with them was to Bangladesh, where Sachin Tendulkar scored his 100 hundreds. And, I was there through the last of his career, which was amazing. Got to work in the IPL, and then came home, worked with the Aussie women for nearly 3 years, and then up in Papua New Guinea for the last couple. So that's it in the abbreviated version.
Been all over the world, mate. Some great experiences there, no doubt. If we go back to your playing days when you're a bit younger, were you in like Queensland rep teams or rep teams as a teenager, or?
No, my first representative team and first Queensland team was the state second 11. So,
right. And how old were you then? Was that when you were 25, 6, or was that a bit earlier?
Yeah. So, it would have been 25. I made, 25. I would have played my first second 11 games, I reckon.
Yeah, awesome. And what was your mindset around that? Like, did you always have aspirations? Did you, I don't know, feel like your chance was over ever? Because I reckon there'd be some good lessons in there for younger kids now that are on live that might have missed out on rep teams or whatnot.
Yeah, I think, there's probably, the system has changed a bit too, but I hope it's going back now where you can find your way into sides that just because you weren't a junior that was recognised and picked in those teams. I think I think for me, I always wanted to do it, but it was probably a decision around 24, 25 years of age where I went from hoping it happens to, I need to go out and try and grab this. So I made a real attempt to get fitter and stronger, and got involved with a trainer who'd done some stuff in Queensland cricket, and coincidentally we'd gone to school together, so I spent some time with him and managed to, he gave me a program and got fit, and then had a really good grade cricket year following that work, which is no coincidence. The harder I work, the luckier I get. Big believer in that. And from there, I took 6 wickets that year in club cricket, in 2-day cricket, and the rest sort of look after itself from there.
Yeah, awesome. And what was your mindset when you did sort of break into the squad? Because I suppose most of the guys that are playing that level probably have played some cricket together in, underage stuff, second 11 stuff. Do you feel like you belonged, or was there a bit of doubt there ever? Or
I think early you've always got your nerves. I still remember my first game was a 50-over game up in Cairns. We played New Zealand, and I knocked Chris Cairns over there, which was always nice to do that. But I think for me, the one that really did home was my first wicket for Queensland was David Boone.
Yeah.
Managed to nick him off at the Gabba, and if I can knock David Boone over, I might be okay here, and I'll go all right. And more importantly, I batted and didn't get killed, so that went all right as well. So I thought, I might go okay.
Yeah, awesome. And what was your approach, I guess, to your bowling and your workload and things like that? Like, I know now there's a big focus on workload. What would your advice be for young fast bowlers on what to focus on and how to improve their game as a quid?
I think the most important thing is never just bowl for the sake of bowling. Always have a focus on what you're trying to do. Batters can hit hundreds and hundreds of balls, and with the wangers now and the bowling machines and all that sort of thing, you can hit lots and lots of balls. But from a bowler's point of view, I think it's really important that every time you bowl, you're working on something. That could just be being consistent with your line and length, or you might be trying to add a slower ball, or nail your Yorker, or get your run up right, whatever it might be. But always have a focus with it, and never just I've had my bat, now I'm going to have to bowl for an hour in the nets at training. Just go, okay, I'm just going to have a bowl. What am I working on? What am I trying to achieve? And the big part of that always is trying to get the bloke out with the bat. That's your job at the end of the day.
It's
workload.
No, keep going, Joey. Sorry.
Well, I mean, workload is an interesting one, isn't it? And I guess coming into it late and before workloads, I bowled lots and lots and lots, and still a big believer in you don't get better at a skill if you don't practice it. As a youngster, you've always got to be wary of how you bowl, but I think that's again about making sure you look after all the pillars of fast bowling. Make sure your technique's right. Make sure you've got your strength right, and make sure you're recovering and preparing well, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and on that, Joe, what's the cycle? I think a big thing for young bowlers is actually understanding the cycle of a full 12 months and how they should prepare and train throughout that 12 months at different stages. What would you recommend for that side of it, sort of breaking up their year? What do you guys focus on at the elite level?
Yeah, I mean, it's different international level because there is no really an off season. But if you go back to, a state season, a domestic season, which is very similar to your club season, you finish in that February, March sort of area. Yeah, it's important to have a bit of time away and put the bat and the ball away and enjoy yourself. And then, when you might have a month off then, and when you pick it up, there's a great opportunity then to really nail your strength and your fitness. So getting a program for that, as youngsters, it might just be body weight stuff and getting your core strong. And there's plenty of things on the internet and that where you can get, it's all pretty crazy at the moment. Obviously, with everyone locked down, body weight stuff to doing at home, just being fit and strong. But you can get into that just to help pair your body, get your fitness levels up, and then in that June, July period of time, start to crank your bowling up. But again, while you've got when you're just building, you don't want to go from not bowling a ball to going out and bowling 10 overs at full pace the next day. You want to build into it gradually, but there's an opportunity while you're doing that to play with a new grip or play with trying to bowl a new slower ball or whatever it might be while you're building up those workloads and building up to bowling off your full run.
Yeah, that's actually something I remember from.
Sorry, it's just to cut you off. Can you maybe just take your earphones off? I don't know because they can't hear the Joey or me interacting. They just hear your sound on the live.
I know you got me.
I've got you. I'm just trying to see. Just trying to see if everyone. It's on a bit of a delay. That's all.
So what? Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook wasn't the sound wasn't happening. That's all right. We just keep tracking on and we'll upload it later. Sorry.
So Joe, if we go now, move to your coaching experience. What are some things that you look for now as a coach that sort of really impress you about young fast bowlers? What are you looking out for?
There's two things you can't teach people, and that is pace and height. I can't teach you to be taller. God gives you a certain height, and that's what you're blessed with. The genetics of your parents, and there's also that natural ability to bowl fast. We can through getting your technique right, and getting stronger, and bits and pieces, we can make we can teach you to bowl faster. But if you're naturally a 125, well, no matter how good a coach you have or how strong you get, you're not going to bowl 150. And that's just, again, that's a genetic thing, fast twitch fibers and all that sort of thing. So, if you're looking for anything there, the two big things you're looking for. I think the other thing for being a fast bowler is having a work ethic. You've got to want to bowl and want to bowl fast. And then, if you've got that work ethic and desire to bowl a lot, well, then, you can work and teach people in and around that.
Yeah. And what would advice be to, obviously it's a very small percentage of players that do have that natural ability to bowl 150. What would your advice be to the guys and the girls that, might be that 10 or 20 Ks slower? What do they need to focus on to try and get to the highest level they can?
Well, I think there's plenty of bowlers that, when you talk at 150, probably the better way to say it is there's only a handful of people over the time of the game that have bowled at that pace, that 150 plus, even one high, mid 140s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people operating in the, high 120s through the 130s. And that's obviously the elite level. As a youngster, there's your pace bracket, and you might not be at the top end of your pace bracket, but if you can get your line and length right and be consistent and constantly challenge the batters off stump, then you're going to be successful. And look at Glenn McGrath. Although in his early days he was quick enough, but he was just challenging the batsman time and time again. Bernard Philander in international cricket isn't the fastest bowler running around, but he's just challenging off stump. Tim Anderson now, is someone who's lost his top end pace, but he's just immaculate with his areas and very skillful, and he's still taking wickets for fun. So, you may not be the fastest person running around, but if you can constantly hit that top of off stump, that area, and challenging the batter, you're going to have a lot of success.
You even find, I think, as well, Dawesy, that even that top end speed, if it doesn't have something with it, it's not, overly effective. It might be effective for some periods of time, but balls get flattered, bowling in the subcontinent, bowling on flatter wickets, they still need to have that string to their bow, not just a pace side. Do you sort of agree with that, or do you feel that as well?
100%, mate, 100%. You still think guys running around that bowl fast, again, if they're not putting in the right areas, or
even in grade cricket, there's blokes quicker than state cricketers or test cricketers, but they don't have those strengths.
Still got to hit good areas. Obviously, if you hit good areas and do it at a good pace, well, you're away. but that ability to hit good areas, potentially swing the ball when the conditions are right, or at least hitting the seam. And if you hit the seam and it goes left or right, as Rodney Hogg said, whoop your dork as long as you're hitting it. And you're just asking those questions.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And over your time, mate, who are some of the most impressive players that you've played with or against, and why?
Played against it's the easy ones because they're the ones you hated bowling to, and I always have Darren Lehman is that example. I just found him really difficult because he just never stood still. We just talked about trying to hit top of off stump, but the stumps don't move, but Darren moved. So what might be off stump one ball to him, the next one he's turning that off stump into his leg stump, and he whoops it around the corner, or he backs away and he gives himself width and cuts it. Runs you through.
At the moment.
Sorry, mate.
A bit like Smith at the moment makes it really difficult to bowl to.
Absolutely. Those guys are really challenging as a bowler because you like to slip into your rhythm and just hit your areas and work your way through. And if the batter's not in the same place all the time, it makes it a bigger challenge for you.
Yeah.
Also, Brad Hodge had a wonderful and amazing first-class career. I was lucky enough to bowl to Carl Hooper, or unlucky enough, depending on how you look at it, in England in the county game over there, on a very, very flat wicket. And he was just flat batting me into the stands and apologising for it because it was a flat wicket. Stewie Law was at the other end giggling away. And that was a long day, but one that I really enjoyed, getting to bowl to someone like him that you grow up watching on TV.
Yeah.
And then when you look at that Queensland side, I was lucky enough to be part of when, you had your Stewie Laws, Matty Haydens, Martin Loves, Kasperwitz, Bickle. These guys are some of the best ever.
Yeah, it was a pretty good era for the balls that you're involved in.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Right, anything from you, Hamo, before we open it up for Q&A?
I'd like to sort of, from your perspective, see who would you, or even, I guess, list a couple of players that you have worked with as bowlers that you think epitomises, they're the package deal, and what makes them the package deal, I guess, as well. Is it just a technical skill? Is it just their ability to hit a length and their pace, or are there other parts to bowling other than just your technical side as well?
Oh, yeah. You can have people that have got wonderful actions, but if they don't have that bit of pace to get onto the batter, or the ability to consistently hit an area, they're going to struggle. I think my favourite one is probably Ryan Harris. Just he loved bowling. He loved bowling fast, and had that skill set, that had the ability to swing the ball with his amazing wrist, and hit good areas. And we all know what sort of a record he had for Australia. But just again, his love of bowling and his love of bowling fast and swinging the ball. Lucky enough to work with Mitch Johnson. So anytime you get to work with someone like that who bowls, generally bowled fast, that was always exciting to do. Ishant Sharma, who doesn't get a lot of the cred because bowling in subcontinent wickets all the time, but he was another guy who just loved bowling, hit good areas, worked hard, and someone that often gets turned on by the Indian media because of that spell he had in Perth against Ricky Ponting, where he was bowling high 140s on the whacker. But I think that was back in the day when we all know Channel 9 used to tweak the radar a little bit. And, he was always questioned from Aaron Immel, why have you never bowled that fast again? And probably because Channel 9 never turned the radar quite again when trying to get Brett Lee up to the 160 mark or plus. But he was another one I really enjoyed working with. Lovely bloke, but just worked hard and, again, bowling in the subcontinent day in, day out, earned every wicket that he got, and generally just a good fast bowler to work with.
Yeah, and that's obviously a catalyst, isn't it? Having that mentality of wanting to bowl. Like, obviously, we all three of us know that fast bowling's a hard thing and it's a painful thing. You've got to want to do it, don't you? You've got to want to enjoy it. You've got to want to have the contest.
Yeah, and that's a big part of the learning process for any any fast bowler, especially a young fast bowler, is learning how to deal with that pain, that getting out of bed in the morning and you feel like you've been run over by a truck, and knowing that, you know, I got to get up and go again. Or probably more importantly, in a game or a training, something gets a little bit sore, and being able to identify the difference between, oh, that's what I call good pain, and that's just bowling, that's just going to be stiff and sore, to, oh no, that's not good, that's bad pain, and, you know, potentially having to stop bowling and getting some help for it. And that, to me, that's one of the biggest steps that a young fast bowler has to take, is getting over that and learning the difference between those two things. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. No.
So I think I should talk about one other bowler before we go on, because I'm sure you've got girls there, and that is Elise Perry. Yeah. She's probably, out of all the bowlers I've ever worked with, she's probably the hardest working cricketer that I've ever worked with. A perfectionist, chases the technical aspects of a game relentlessly, and great lady to work with, great lady, full stop. And there's no surprise that she is one of the best in the world, if not the best. But she works harder than anyone I've ever worked with on her game.
Yeah, awesome. She's certainly reaping the rewards for it the last few years.
Yeah, correct.
All right, is that it from you, Hamo? Do you want to start rolling into a few Q&As out of the players?
Yeah. So I'm just having a look through. And Matthew Lawrence has asked, how much should you, or he's saying did you, but how much should you practice outside of club cricket when you're in sort of 14s to 16s? Like, do you think there should be more bowling on top of it, or should they use that time in their club training to bowl and then work on other parts? What's sort of your thoughts on that?
Did he just means at training itself, or
basically, how much practice outside of it on top of, you know, he might have his under 14s training twice a week or whatever. Should he be doing any other bowling, or is it more technical stuff, you know, outside of his club stuff?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think it's one probably a little hard to answer without seeing Matthew, and that where is he at? What, you know, if he's got a good technique and he's, you know, where he's at in his growth spurts and things like that, you know, I think if you're through that, then you should bowl. I'm a big believer that you need to bowl. Actually, when I grew up and there was no workloads then, we'd play cricket morning tea and lunchtime, and then after school. You know, so I'm a big fan of bowling. But I think you want to make sure that your body's ready for it. So having a good technique, I think there's nothing wrong with just bowling off a few steps if you're trying to work on something. And it's an opportunity to, you know, when you're having a bowl, to play with your wrist and, you know, back of the hand or leg cutters or off cutters. You know, it doesn't need to be off your full run. You know, you can bowl to a mate with a ball, and, you know, whether it's a new ball or even just, again, a tape tennis ball with different coloured seam, and just trying to get that feel of your fingers coming down the back to see whether or not you're getting the seam right. You know, you can do those sorts of things, again, without having to be off your long run. So that's just muscle memory stuff, without bowling thousands, you know, hundreds of balls off your long run at a young age.
Just going through your long run, yeah.
Couple here, I've grouped a few together. Siddharth and Kai have both asked, and there's been a few others that I saw. They've asked about how to bowl fast for long periods of time.
Yeah. So I just saw Daniel Craig ask the question. Was that 007? I was just going to ask him about the new movie.
We'll get him on and ask so you can meet him.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, mate, go again. What was it?
No, you're right. There's been a few questions. Siddharth and Kai Harris have asked about how to bowl fast for long periods of time.
Well, it's a mixture of a couple of things. It's you know, your body's got to be able to do that. So you need to be fit enough, physically fit enough. Your cardiovascular fitness needs to be there. You think, you know, you're running at a high intensity for 20, 25 meters, jumping in the air, landing, doing all through the bowling action. So you've got to be fit enough to do that, but you've also got to be strong enough. And it's, you know, without getting too technical, it's the muscular endurance side of it. So your body, you know, needs to be able to cope with it. And most people early on can cope for 3 overs or 4 overs, but it's teaching your body to be able to cope with it for 6, 7, 8, 9. And that comes with, you know, your body maturing and getting stronger, but also doing the work away from the bowling crease with your gym stuff and running and fitness work. But also always practicing to bowl fast. So, you know, we're talking before about doing some drill work with your wrist and everything like that. So even if you're trying to bowl off 3 or 4 steps, it's still about trying to bowl fast off 3 or 4 steps, not just floating through, because then you're teaching yourself bad habits.
Yeah.
But, you know, I hope that makes sense to everyone that's listening, but it's, you know, you can still go off a short run. It's not the full intensity off a long run, and you can work on those things we talked about, but it's still having that intent, even off 3 or 4 steps or 6 steps, whatever it might be, to bowl fast.
And what do you think? Well, I know because most club players, before they get to an elite level, the only time they train might be at 6 o'clock at night in cool conditions, you know, no wind and things like that. Do you recommend fast bowlers go and actually bowl during the day at stages before they get to elite level?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you want to, as you get older, you start playing longer forms of the game. You know, when you go from 50 over cricket to club cricket, 2-day club cricket, you know, you go from bowling 8 or 10 overs in a game to potentially bowling 20, 25 overs in a game. So that's a big step. So, you know, at training, quite often it's worthwhile potentially having a bowl at the beginning for half an hour, 40 minutes, and then you might have a bat or have a little bit of a field, take it easy, and then come back and have another bowl. And it might only be 20 minutes, but what you're doing is getting your body used to stopping and having to start again. And then instead of having that just one spell and that does me for the night. Because it's quite often everyone will bowl well and bowl fast in their first spell, but the good fast bowlers are the ones that are still bowling fast at the end of the day, you know, with the second new ball in club cricket or obviously domestic and test cricket.
Yeah.
Bailey Ali has asked, just had a question for Joe. So when you're bowling, but also I reckon this is a coaching thing as well, that I'm sure you'll have a lot of conversations with players previously. When and how did you identify the stages of the game that you're in during a game, and when sort of do you know what types of ball to bowl in these stages, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, part of that, I guess, comes down to what format you're playing. You know, if you look at red ball cricket, then, you know, I think the easiest one to look at is the old traffic light analogy, and that is, you know, if the ball's swinging around or it's seaming, then it's sort of a green light and you want to attack, and you'll have an attacking field with slips and gullies and things, and, you know, really looking to pitch the ball up and target that knee roll. If the ball's not swinging or it's not doing a great deal, you might just pull your length back a little bit, not much, but still looking to hit the top of off stump. You might not have as many slips and gullies, and, you know, have a cover in and a mid wicket, that sort of thing. And then that's sort of your amber light, your orange light, and then the red light is, you know, when a batter with a really flat wicket, potentially the ball is getting older, and the batter's going hard at you. Well, then, you know, you may not have any slips, and you're having a more defensive field, and you're just trying to control their scoring and get them hitting the ball to the field. That's red ball.
No, I actually got an email in from Hayden before we jumped on, and he asked who would recommend going about bowling to a batsman that is just smashing everything. What tactics do you use in that situation?
Just in the net, does he mean, or in the game?
Game when there's a batter towing you up.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, well, I don't think you should give the stumps away. I think you always want to make sure that, if he misses, he's out. Yeah. And then have him hitting through the field, you know. So if he's someone that, he or she is someone that is predominantly leg side, where you look to, you know, and you're going at the stumps where you're going to look to protect that leg side, or vice versa if they're giving themselves some width. So think about making the batter do something that they don't want to do. So if they're wanting to go, but they're wanting to hit you down the ground, and that's where they seem comfortable, potentially you might pull your length back and stick a couple up their nose and try and make them do something they don't want to do. So I always thought about, what is this batter trying to do to me? Where is he comfortable. And when you're coaching, you might be, where is he or she comfortable hitting the ball? Well, let's make them hit it somewhere where they're not comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that, too, another email in from Archie was about the bouncer. So he said he's quite short and got any advice on how he can bounce.
A couple of things there. One, you can potentially bowl at a cross seam. Sometimes the ball hit the seam and kick a little bit more. And then I think the other one is really overemphasize where the length of it. So if you're a little bit shorter, quite often your bouncer can be more dangerous than a big tall person's bouncer because it skids on a little bit. It's a bit harder for a batter to get underneath it. So you've just got to pull your length back a little bit. And I would rather see, and when I'm talking to my bowlers about bowling a bouncer, I would rather see it go over someone's head. I know, especially in white ball cricket, that can be, called a no or a wide, depending on the formats and stuff. Than it being sort of chest height, which is an easy pull shot, which generally goes for, a boundary. So I'd rather see it go over the top, be higher rather than lower. So, I would often think for myself, especially if I was bowling on a flat wicket, that I'm nearly trying to bowl the ball into my toe.
Yeah.
You're never going to do that, obviously, but it just naturally...
Overemphasising, yeah.
Yeah, overemphasising what you want it to do and get it up around, that throat, head high that you want. So even if you're short, you still want to use it. Last thing you want is batters just plopping on the front foot and being comfortable. You want to let them know I'm a fast bowler or even a medium pace bowler that I've still got this up my sleeve, and you've got to have a little thought about what you're doing before you just plop onto the front foot.
Very nice. Malik Thacker has asked, he's got different coaches that are telling him different things to do when he's learning something. And I think he feels like it's a little bit of a mixed signal. Is there any sort of advice that you give to a young player that might have multiple, a club coach, a dad, a private coach, a rep coach or whatever, how to get the best way to be able to do what he feels comfortable doing?
Yeah, 100%. I actually had this conversation yesterday with a young guy from Valleys who I've been coaching on and off for the last few years, and he's been helping me do some work here around the yard, and we've just been doing jobs and chatting cricket, and we had this exact conversation. And I think as a player, you have to develop a filter, and I think it's really important to listen to what people have to say. It might be a coach, it could be your grandmother, or your grandfather that have never played the game, but they still have life experience. So you never want to shut the door on learning from people. I think the key to doing it successfully is having that filter where you're listening to it and go, that doesn't work for me. I think I can try that. I'd like to use that, or that might be handable for me. And you're trying to filter it out as you go. As a youngster, that's not an easy thing to do. And I think that's where, if they're really contradicting each other, you probably need to try and get those coaches to have a conversation and come up with a line together, have a thing, or at least talk back to the coach. When I say that, I mean do it respectfully and say, no, well, listen, these are the messages I'm getting. I'm a little confused. How do you think I should go about this? And you're never being disrespectful, but you're just saying, well, someone's telling me to bowl around the wicket to a left-hander, and someone's telling me to bowl over the wicket, for example, or bowl in swing here or out swing there. Well, you just need to try and get all those people talking together so you can come up with something common. And as a player, the thing you've got to learn is that it's your career at the end of the day. Coaches are giving you advice because they're trying to do the right thing. No coach is ever going to give you advice to do the wrong thing by you, but it's your career and you need to choose which way you're going to go and be able to explain, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Sophie Martin asked a question, and I guess if we move on from just fast bowlers here, but overall, what do academy coaches look for in a player? She's asked.
Academy coaches, okay.
Like your TID, state pathways, those sorts of coaches.
Yeah, I mean, performance is still the big thing, isn't it? Scoring runs or taking wickets on the weekend when you're playing your club cricket or your rep cricket, whatever it might be. school cricket. I think again, you're going to be looking for someone that's got a great attitude, that wants to play and is enjoying their cricket, and wants to bat lots and wants to bowl lots. I think someone that's a good team person. At the end of the day, they're trying to put together people that are going to be good in a group environment.
Yeah.
But I think, they're going to be looking for performances. And if you're a batter, they're going to be looking for someone that can, bat periods of time, whether that be red ball cricket or, more importantly, probably white ball cricket at a younger age. By batting time is someone that can get themselves in and then set themselves up to go hard at the end of an innings. So having the ability to rotate the strike and have boundary options as a batter, and as a bowler, someone that looks like they've got a plan. So at the death, being able to execute a Yorker, set a field, do some basics like that.
Yeah.
I think it's also important as well, like, it happening once and not expecting, okay, well, I took 5 for today. Why am I not playing, or why am I not in this rep side because I took 5 for, or I scored a 50. You've got to be able to do it consistently. They're looking for back-to-back performances, really, aren't they? It's not just a flash in the pan, and that might spark the interest of a selector or a talent ID person, but they sort of look for that backing it up and being able to do it more and more as well, I think, as well.
Oh, mate, 100%, absolutely. With I think everyone can have a day out. That's the great part of our game, is that everyone can get a game and everyone can have a good day somewhere along the line. But it's a good players that, consistently, as you said, backing it up with hundreds or fifers or match-winning performances, whether that's just a burst of 20 runs off 10 balls at the end of a T20, or nailing their 2 overs at the death and winning a game by maybe not getting wickets, but not, going at 7s or 8s and over at the death.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, we don't want to keep it too long, Joe. We might start to wrap it up. We might go 2 more questions. So, Joel, if you want to pick one, I'll pick one.
Yeah.
There's been a lot asking about personal questions like how fast you bowl, what was your fastest ball, what was your best performance. So, can you remember that?
Yeah. Fastest ball is I always use a joke. I was never quick enough to get down the other end and face me. They didn't have a lot of radars back in my day. So I couldn't give you a number. I'd like to think that, I got high 130s, low 140s when the wind was going in the right direction.
Down the hill at Sandgate.
Down the hill at Sandgate. A big gale up my back. I took all 10 wickets in an innings in first grade in Brisbane here. Took 10 for 16 in a game, and had 16 for 32 for the match. So that was a pretty good game.
Useful.
Yeah. And I remember I had 9 for the last pair were in, and Brett Henschel, she played a lot of games for Queensland, and Valley Stalwart was bowling, and the batter skied one up in the air to mid-off. And a great mate of mine who opened the bowling with for most of my years at Valley's, Hooch, Darren Turner, was fielding, and he stood underneath it. And as I was on his way down, he just pulled his hands away and said, "Sorry, Hottie, not today. Joey's getting 10." So I got the 10th wicket the next over, but Hottie, who loved his Brett Henschel, who loved his stats, wasn't very happy with that.
Wouldn't have been happy.
No,
lucky they didn't have my cricket then.
Correct, yeah. So that was a great day. I've managed to get some good hauls for Queensland. I couldn't tell you my best, but I got a few 7-fers, I think, for Queensland at different times, and 10 wickets in a match, which was nice. But I think your best performances are when you win shields and competitions as a team, and you remember those. You probably remember those long after your personal little performances.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a heap of really good ones, which obviously we can't be on here all day. I'm going to go with, obviously they're all sort of highlights, but who has been your most enjoyable club or team or franchise or stint as a coach?
I'm going to say the Australian women's team. Absolutely loved working with the girls. Made some great friendships there. We had a really good coaching group, as you do in most places. To be honest, it's a tough question, I think. But I guess representing your country, getting to coach an Australian team was pretty special, and the the national anthems and things like that was a very emotional and amazing part to be part of. Not getting to do it as a player, but getting to do it as coach was awesome. I think I think that's been my most enjoyable. Last year with this PNG side, we
went qualified with the T20 stuff, hadn't you?
Yeah, we qualified in Dubai last year for the first time. The boys made a senior World Cup, so that was a pretty good. That was an amazing month that we were in Dubai. We had a really good run, and to do that for the first time was pretty special and led to a pretty good celebration that night. There's lots of really great highlights over the time, and that's why we do it at the end of the day, because there's plenty of days where you go home wondering why the hell are we doing this, as we all know, whether it's a player or as a coach. But those days make it all worthwhile. So they're probably things, but representing my country, working with some great players and some great people in the staff there. The 3 years with the Australian women's team is definitely the highlight.
Would you say did you enjoy your playing career more, coaching career at the stage?
Oh, that's a good question.
You've been involved in some good setups as a coach, so I'd imagine it's been a fairly enjoyable 10 years.
I think, from a personal point of view, your playing's pretty special. To achieve a goal for me to play for Queensland and to be successful in that era is always something that, you'll cherish as a player. I think, I probably remember the highlights as a coach, and you do seem to ride it more as a coach, to be honest. It's probably that helpless feeling where...
Yeah, you got no real control of it, do you? You don't have the ball in your hand, or you can't contribute in that way.
Yeah, so that's a real challenge, I think, to deal with that. And, I think you get more... I think as a player too, you get that... you get feedback. You take wickets, or you score runs, or you win games of cricket. More importantly, personal feedback that if you do well as a player, you're going okay. Whereas a coach, you could be winning or losing games, but you're not entirely sure whether it is how you're going, I guess. You could be doing the best job in the planet and you're still losing games of cricket, where you could be an absolute imbecile as a coach, but you just keep winning because you've got a really good team. So it's a real challenge from that point of view. That's something that I think a lot of coaches struggle with, and I know I have done and do at times. But you just back your process, back what you do, and back your players to give you the feedback. But I reckon the moments as a coach, achieving that goal of making that Cricket World Cup, T20 World Cup, is again something I'll cherish forever. But you're getting to see the work and understanding the work that the players have put in for them to achieve their goal, and knowing that you've had a hand in that and pointing them in the right direction. It's pretty hard to beat.
From a place of being, I'd imagine it's a fairly fulfilling role as a coach. Like you said, the playing's a bit more individual focused, but having the impact on other players' lives.
Yeah, to me, that's the great part of PNG is we're actually changing lives. Life's tough up there for these guys, and majority of them live in a small village, which resembles sort of an Indian slum in a lot of respects. A lot of people in a small area. It's not the cleanest thing. No running water, no electricity in a lot of it. So to be able to help these players achieve their goal of representing their country, and then getting to go to places like Dubai, Namibia, Scotland, Florida last year, the places we went.
Be a real eye-opener for them. They'd love it.
We had a young kid who's our analyst, and he, I plucked him out of the game development department. He was just a good kid that sort of caught my eye there as someone that always was willing to help, and said, "Good morning, coach," and was a nice kid. And I said, "Right, well, you may not have a lot of experience as a player, as a coach, but you've got the things that I'm looking for." Probably, like your TID question earlier on, he just struck me as someone that we can invest in, and grabbed him, going to teach him, getting him through his coaching qualifications. But we taught him how to be the analyst, use the computer system and that. And He didn't have a backpack to put a computer in. They'd never really had a computer, didn't have an email address, didn't have a phone, didn't have a bank account. So we had to sort all those things out for him. And we were out buying his backpack. And we went past, there's the one big shopping centre up in Moresby has a Wendy's, and I bought him a chocolate milkshake. And he'd never had a chocolate milkshake before because they just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And 3 months later, he's coding a game, and Nathan Reardon, who's my assistant up there, said to him, Tommy, have you ever been to America before? And I said, well, Reardon, I doubt he's ever been on a plane before. And he said, no, coach, I've never been on a plane before. So he said, well, we're going to take you, originally we're going to take him to America, but he ended up coming to Dubai. So we caught him that afternoon Googling air crash investigations. So he was a little nervous about getting on a plane for the first time. And then his first flight, he ended up in Dubai. And if you've ever been to Dubai and you're driving down the main street of Dubai, it's just an amazing place. So from the heights of Port Moresby, which is a pretty sort of very small place, to being in Dubai on your first plane flight was pretty special. And they're the really pleasing things of my job, is you get to do those things with these guys and absolutely change lives.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Doing a great job. We'll leave you there, mate. Thanks a lot again for jumping on. There's some real nuggets in there, particularly for the fast bowlers. It's been awesome, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for everyone for sending your questions. It's a great thing you guys are doing during everyone's stuck at home. So keep it up, and if I can help again, let me know.
Yeah, no.
Thanks, Joey.
Thanks,
guys. Take care.